Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what we have today, we have my Championship Week 5 score predictions. Unfortunately for us, next week we do have an international break, so we are going to have to make the most of this Championship weekend, but we have some absolutely cracking fixtures to go ahead and predict this weekend. And as always, I'm very interested to see what you guys are predicting for this weekend's scoreline, so in the description down below, I'll leave all this weekend's fixtures so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions, and then if you do successfully manage to get any of them right, then your comment may be included into the next video. Also, as we do have the last day of the loan window going on today as well, a lot of business is being done in the Championship, and we could see some debuts being made in the Championship over this weekend, which I'm looking forward to seeing. We've seen quite a lot of deals go through in the past couple of hours, so that's another thing that we'll have to keep our eyes on. But enough of that, guys, let's go ahead and hop in to my score predictions. And we are starting out with a huge game this weekend going on between the top two in the Championship. We got Leeds United going up against Middlesbrough. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about this one, but going into this game, Middlesbrough actually coming into it with a bit of a complication. Martin Braithwaite, one of their best players this season, has reportedly asked to leave the club, so he could be out the door at the end of today's transfer window. Reportedly, they are looking to bring in George Saville from Millwall as his replacement, but he will be a massive loss for Middlesbrough going forward. I feel like when they lost to Traore, Braithwaite was that sort of player who was able to link the attack and midfield together and provide that creativity. The partnership that he's been able to have so far with Preston has really been the thing driving Middlesbrough forward, and if they are to lose Braithwaite, that will be a huge blow to their promotion chances this season, in my opinion. But one thing that Middlesbrough have been very strong with has been their defensive record, only going ahead and conceding 2 goals so far in the Championship, going up against Leeds United, who have been one of the best sides to watch this season, already going ahead and scoring 14 goals. All of Leeds' attacking players seem to be in form at the moment, so I'm interested to see how Middlesbrough go ahead and try to stifle that Leeds attack, because you can't really try and mark one player out of the game, because if you try and mark Hernandez out of the game, Sice will step up, then they got Alioski, and if they try to play a high line against them, you've got players like Roof who can go in behind. So Leeds have got a lot of different angles where they can hurt this Middlesbrough side from, and with this Braithwaite situation a bit unclear at the moment, Middlesbrough may have a couple of things to think about going into this one. For a score prediction for this game, I am going to back Leeds United for a 2-1 home victory. This game will be very telling to see who really has the steel to be up there at the end of the season, but I'll say 2-1 Leeds, and FIFA is going to agree with me and also say it'll be 2-1 Leeds. Then into the Saturday kickoffs, we've got Birmingham going up against QPR. Quite an interesting battle, this one. Birmingham yet to win so far this season, however, they have been fairly unlucky. In their last 3 games especially, they've been very unlucky not to go ahead and pick up all 3 points in all of them, really. It's just been either they've not been taking their chances or a bit of defensive fragility. The game they had against Nottingham Forest, they absolutely battered them for about 80 minutes, and then 2 league camp mistakes meant that game went ahead and finished as a 2-2 draw. Going up against this QPR side, who you feel like will have a bit more bounce in their game after they went ahead and picked up their first win of the season over Wigan Athletic. Their new 2 strikers coming in Tom Ahmed and Naki Wells, to give them a different dynamic going forward, and it gives the QPR fans a lot more optimism, I think, going forward this season. So this one will be quite an interesting battle. I feel like if Birmingham play to their optimum potential and actually go ahead and take their chances, they should be going on to win this game. But with QPR having that bit of a bounce back from their last game, it's going to be a tight one. I am going to back Birmingham for a 2-1 home victory. FIFA's going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. Next up, we then got Brentford going up against Nottingham Forest. Forest were involved in a very dramatic cup tie in midweek, as they were able to knock out Newcastle by 3-1 thanks to a couple of last-minute goals from Forest. Going away to Brentford, though, not going to be an easy tie for them. Brentford so far at home especially have really gone on to impress me so far this season. With their one-touch football, they can be a nightmare to play against. If you sit off them especially, they will just absolutely play you off the park. It's going to be an interesting game, though. Brentford are still without Neil Maupay for this game. He will be serving his final game of his 3-game suspension, which does sort of limit Brentford going forward. We sort of saw that when they went up against Blackburn Rovers and lost that game by 1-0. They were just missing that bit more clinical ability in the final third, which Neil Maupay brings to that team. Brentford, though, do have players to go ahead and hurt this Nottingham Forest side, and with Forest already going ahead and drawing 4 games so far this season, I've got a feeling that this game may follow a similar pattern as well. I think that Brentford will probably have a lot of the ball, but Forest will pop up in just the right moment. Someone like Soudani will pop up with a last-minute equaliser. So for this one, I'm going to back it to finish as a 1-1 draw, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 2-0 Forest. Then up next, we have Hull City going up against Derby County, and the reason why this is an interesting game is because these two sides met in midweek in the EFL Cup, and Derby were able to walk away with a 4-0 away victory. We're now seeing this game replicated in the league, and it'll be interesting to see how both teams approach this one. Obviously, both of them made quite a few changes going into that midweek game. Josephine was looking very good for Derby. Whitehall managed to get a goal for Derby as well, and Mason Mount, their main man so far this season, also popped up with a goal. In Derby's last game in the Championship, that was against my team, Preston North End. For the second half of that game, it was quite a convincing performance from Derby County. My team, Preston, weren't really in the game for the second half, and going forward, they did take their chances. They were quite clinical. Going up against this Hull side, who defensively still haven't really convinced me so far this season. Their form has been a bit all over the place. They've only gone ahead and won one game so far. That was their 3-2 away victory against Rotherham United. Their last game in the Championship, they didn't really make the best account of themselves, losing 2-0 to Stoke City, where they failed to register a shot on target. So going forward, they're going to have to bring a lot more threat into this game if they are going to beat Derby County. But I've got a feeling Derby may walk away with this one with all 3 points. So I'm going to say that Derby will walk away with a 3-1 away victory, or as FIFA's saying, it'll be 2-0 Hull. Then into our next game, we got a bit of a derby going on between my team, Preston North End, and Bolton Wanderers. I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit nervous going into this game. Generally, the games at Deepdale between Preston and Bolton always tend to be low scorers, either a 0-0 or a 1-0, and I've got a feeling that this game may follow in a similar path to that, actually. So far this season, Preston have probably struggled in front of goal. That's reflected in where we're sat in the table currently sat in 20th position. Our last win coming on the opening day against QPR. One thing that I hope that Preston will take into this game is the form we showed against Leeds United in the EFL Cup. I'm hoping that that away victory will just spur us on for the rest of the season. Now, going up against this Bolton side, who I'm not going to lie, so far have looked quite good in the table. They're currently sat third, and obviously in their last game they had a bit of a disaster, going ahead and losing 3-0 to Sheffield United. But one thing that Bolton are very good at is sitting back deep and then taking their chances when it comes to them, and that's something that does worry me slightly because we tend to struggle against teams who do come to Deepdale and sit deep. But this is the sort of game where I feel like one goal is going to win it, so I am going to back Preston for a slim 1-0 home victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 2-1 Bolton. Next up, we then got Reading going up against Sheffield Wednesday. Quite an interesting encounter, this one. Reading so far still chasing their first win of the season. In their last 2 games though, they have gone ahead and drawn both of them, a 2-2 draw against Blackburn Rovers and a 1-1 against Aston Villa, where they were able to score a last minute penalty to go ahead and get a point from that one. Going up against Sheffield Wednesday, who have picked up a bit of momentum lately in the Championship. They've gone ahead and won their last 2 games, and some of their key players really coming into form at the moment. Barry Bannon's looked very good so far this season, Forestieri looked good as well, and Lucas Jow obviously popping up with 2 goals for them in their last game. It's a game where I feel like both attacks have players to go ahead and hurt the other team, but both defences so far, if you put the Reading defence or the Sheffield Wednesday defence under pressure, I feel like either of them could crumble really. So I'm very interested to see who goes ahead and takes the initiative for this game and goes ahead and really puts the other side under pressure. I feel like this one could be a bit of an end-to-end game, and for a prediction, I'm going to back it to finish as a 1-1 draw actually. I think that both sides have players who could hurt each other, but equal to that, both defences are a bit shoddy at times. So I'll say 1-1. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-0 Reading. Up next, we then got Sheffield United going up against Aston Villa. Sheffield United recently completing the signing of Connor Washington, so we could see him being involved in this game. Quite an interesting signing actually. His time at QPR didn't really go to plan for him. They signed him for quite a bit of money, and he never really hit it off in the Championship. I think his highest scoring season, he was only able to score 7 goals for them, but he does bring something different to this Sheffield United side, which I think, you know, is the reason they've gone ahead and brought him in. He's a different striker to the players they've already got there at the club, the players like Leon Clark, Billy Sharp or David McGoldrick. You know, he gives the option of going in behind and gives them a different dynamic going forward. So I'm interested to see what Chris Wilder can go ahead and get out of him. Aston Villa are reportedly bringing a couple players into this game who will have knocks, so whether they'll start or not, I'm not so sure. The players like Jonathan Kodjia, John McGinn and Jack Grealish are all doubtful for this game, so if they are missing those sort of players, I feel like Sheffield United may have their way for this one. And for a score prediction, I'm actually fancying Sheffield United to walk away with a 2-1 home victory. Villa so far in some of their recent games haven't really been too convincing for me. They're yet to lose this season, but they have gone ahead and drawn their last 3 games. So I'll say 2-1 Sheffield United. FIFA's saying it'll be a 0-0 draw. Next up, we then got West Brom going up against Stoke City. West Brom will be looking to bounce back from that last minute defeat they had last time out against Middlesbrough, and going up against Stoke City will be an interesting encounter. Stoke were able to get their first win of the season in their last Championship game against Hull City, although for that game, defensively, they did go go fairly untested for that one. Hull weren't really bringing a lot into this game. This game will be a completely different dynamic. With some of the players who West Brom have going forward, I feel like as West Brom are the home team, they'll be looking to take the initiative to Stoke City and go ahead and attack them from minute one. And with some of the players who have looked good so far, the likes of Harvey Barnes, Jay Rodriguez, Dwight Gale and Matty Phillips, they have a lot of areas where they could hurt this Stoke City side from. But I think that Stoke will take quite a lot of confidence from that first win of the season against Hull City. And they've definitely got players going forward who, if they do get the right formula and the right connections in there, Stoke could still have a good season, there's no doubt about that. And for a prediction for this one, I fancy it to finish as a 2-2 draw. I get the feeling that quite a few goals could be scored in this game. So I'll say 2-2. Fever's going to say it'll be 3-0 Stoke. Next up we then see Wigan Athletic going up against Rotherham United. Both sides have started the season fairly well so far actually. Wigan of course will be looking to bounce back from their defeat they had last time out against QPR. Quite a disappointing result for them. They went ahead and lost that game 1-0 in the end. Definitely had chances to go ahead and get back into it, but I think that going back home to the DW in this one, where they have looked good so far this season, especially going forward, they will cause this Rotherham side some problems. Rotherham though, I think they've caught a couple of teams off guard so far this season, especially with how they have played at home. Away from home though, not really been the same case, although when they did go up against Leeds United, for the first half of that game they were looking quite good. They just couldn't keep up that intensity going into the second half. So this game, I'm going to fancy Wigan for a slim home victory. I don't think that Rotherham will make it easy for them, because I don't think they will be the rollover like a lot of people thought they might be this season. But I will say that Wigan will walk away with a 2-1 home victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 2-1 Rotherham. Then as the evening kickoff on Saturday, we got Millwall going up against Swansea City. Millwall, I feel like, are a completely different side when they are at home compared to when they are away from home. But at home, they are unbeaten in all competitions so far this season. So Swansea are definitely going to have to watch out for this game. Swansea, on the other hand, looking to bounce back from that defeat they had last time out against Bristol City. Swansea's performances so far this season, I'm still not completely sure where I think they'll finish this season, because they've been a little bit all over the place. They do still have, obviously, a very young squad, so that level of inconsistency is probably to be expected from a side like Swansea, but when they do turn up, they can really punish you. You know, we saw in the game against Leeds United going forward, they can be absolutely ferocious. So Millwall are going to have to watch out for this one, but I feel like with how Millwall like to set up at home, they are an incredibly hard side to break down, and going forward with how direct they can be, Swansea are definitely going to have to be kept on their toes defensively for this one. But for a prediction, I do see this one heading towards a score draw. I'm going to say that this one will finish as a 1-1. I don't think there'll be all too much in it between these two sides this Saturday, so I'll say 1-1. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-0 Swansea. And then into Sunday's kickoffs to go ahead and predict. First of all, we got the East Anglian derby going on between Ipswich Town and Norwich City, and it's fair to say that in recent times Ipswich really haven't got the best out of this game. Their last win against Norwich came all the way back in 2009, so Ipswich are really going to want to be going around and putting on a show for this game. Obviously, so far in the Championship, Ipswich are yet to go ahead and pick up a win, although the performances under Paulhurst haven't been awful. I think they are, you can tell by watching them, they are building in the right direction. You know, it's a complete contrast to how they were playing under Mick McCarthy last season. I think that it will just take time for them to go ahead and really click. Going up against Norwich City, they themselves haven't really had the best of starts to this season. They've only gone ahead and won one game so far. Going forward, Norwich have looked good so far this season. Players like Timu Pukki have looked good so far. Jordan Rhodes returning to Ipswich Town will be a very interesting one to see what sort of reaction he gets from the Ipswich Town fans. And obviously, Onel Hernandez has looked superb so far. I went ahead and put him in my team of the month. But defensively, I think that both sides have showed weakness so far. Norwich especially have looked a bit all over the place defensively at times. So they've definitely both got weaknesses which either side can go ahead and exploit. And I do, even with the weaknesses that both teams have defensively, I feel like because it's a derby, neither side's going to want to give too much away, and for that reason it's going to be a fairly low scoring game. So I feel like this one could be nicked by either a 1-0 or a 1-1 or something like that. But for a prediction, I do see this one heading towards a draw. I am going to say that it will finish as a 1-1, and I hate doing that for derbies because it seems like I am sitting on the fence, but I genuinely do think that this game will finish as a draw. So I'll say 1-1. FIFA is also going to say 1-1. And then as our final game to go ahead and predict, we got Bristol City going up against Blackburn Rovers. This is one game which I'm really looking forward to seeing the outcome of, because I feel like this one could be a really entertaining game. Bristol City for this one will have the added bonus of Jeju coming back from his 6-game suspension for this game, and I feel like if Jeju and Weimann can hit it off with a partnership up front for Bristol City, they could be absolutely devastating going forward this season. Going up against this Blackburn Rovers side who have been in the news recently, Bradley Dack reportedly, they had a bid turned down from West Brom for just £5 million for the Blackburn playmaker. Blackburn were never going to accept a bid of that sort of range for their star man Bradley Dack, and Blackburn going forward have also been busy lately in the transfer window. They went ahead and completed the loan signing of Ben Brereton coming in from Nottingham Forest. I feel like Blackburn going forward definitely have pace now. You know, the likes of Adam Armstrong and Brereton give them a different edge going forward, and this is the sort of game which I feel like goals will be scored in it, and either side can go on and win it. I've been impressed with both of them in certain games so far this season, but I feel like with Bristol City having the return of Jeju for this one, they may just go ahead and edge out Blackburn. So for a prediction, I am going to back Bristol City for a 2-1 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. But guys, there you have it there on my Championship Week 5 score predictions. So like I said at the start of the video, make sure you guys do go ahead and get your score predictions in the comments down below. I'm very interested to see what you guys are predicting for this weekend. But like I said guys, I will now wrap it up for this video. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.